But this is just a quick little demo to show you how I created the background for on the sides. I'm just going to do it on a scrap piece of paper just to show you. The first thing I did is I used my dried marigold oxide ink. You're going to put some on the mat like that. I then misted that with water to get some nice to get the ink activated, and then just transferred that onto my background like that. Okay. I just used this piece of acetate to work the ink into where I thought I would want it to be. Okay. And because I know most of the page is going to be covered up, I really just worked on the left and right and slightly across. So once you've got that layer on, you'll dry that. And remember, I said that for me the dried marigold was just a little bit too orange. So I clean off your piece of acetate, and we are going to add some tattered rose. This is, you will, if you've done a couple of my classes, you'll know this is my favorite way to add ink to the background. It's like a spin-off of Tim Holtz's Wrinkle-Free Distress. I find you have a little bit more control. You get the same look, but you have a little bit more control about where the ink goes. Now bear in mind that tattered rose is much lighter than the dried marigold, and because we've added water to the acetate, that water is reacting with the dried marigold that is already down, so that helps the two to blend together just a little bit more. Just remember, always try and keep the acetate away from the heat gun, because it does shrivel up and become a little bit useless if it does get heated up a bit. I've been through a few. Right, so once you've done that, then you can see you can keep adding the two colors of inks until you get to a place that where it matches your paper. I can see that over here it's still a little bit too orange, and it will need a little bit more of the tattered rose to go over there. So I'll add just a little bit of water. I'm not going to water this one down too much because I'd like more of the pigment to take onto the page, so it's not as it's not too wet, so it's not spreading as far as what it is when you just leave it a little bit damp like that. And there you can see already I'm starting to be able to get that orange to go into this beautiful coral color that works very nicely on with the background pages that I chose, or the pattern papers that I chose. Okay, so I would basically continue to add color until I got to a point where I was happy with the outcome. Dry in between your layers. And then I wanted to add a little bit of the abandoned coral, but I didn't want to do it in a way, I didn't want to smoosh it on, because I think it would have overpowered the background, but I did need for it to be on. So all I did was put some ink on my acetate, I added quite a bit of water. We're going to pick up some of that ink with a paintbrush and then just splatter it on like that. And again, you can control exactly where you want that abandoned coral to show up and where you don't. The closer you go, the bigger the splats. The further away, the finer the splats. So that just depends on how much of this you wanted to show. Okay. I then left that. I didn't dry it. I just left it on like that, and then went and added some walnut stain exactly the same way. Pick up wet that, pick it up with a paintbrush, and then closer I added the walnut stain like that. I left the ink to dry on its own for as long as possible before I lift it. If I go in and lift it now, let me put some here and show you. If I go in straight away without giving it time to lift, it comes out very light. If you leave these to dry by themselves and just give them an opportunity to really pull into the paper, you can already see how much darker and more intense the color is. So you can play around and pull off when you leave some to dry by themselves and pull off some of the ink straight away, so you can get the light and dark effect. Once that's done, all I did was ink around the edges. I took some ink around the edges. I worked with frayed burlap as well as a little bit of the walnut stain to go around the edges. And I think if you're unsure, experiment with your colors on a piece of scrap paper first, and if you're happy with the outcome, repeat that process then onto your background. So basically this is what it's going to look like if you want to replicate more or less what I did. I hope you enjoy creating your own backgrounds and look forward to seeing what you do. I will see you in the next video.